Greetings wherever you're watching us from, and welcome to another edition of Between the Lines. I am your host, Karanja Jackson. The United States Agency International Development has partnered with the Aga Khan Foundation to form Yetu, a local development organization that aims to help the residents and Kenyans of this great republic. In studio today we have Mr. Bernard Ndungu. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Karanja.
Mr. Ndungu is a coach and a mentor at the Aga Khan Foundation, Yetu. What is Yetu?
Thank you, Karanja, first for giving me an opportunity to come to Nakuru TV. I'm happy.
Yes.
And I want to first state that the support that we are getting from USAID is being channeled to Aga Khan Foundation through Yetu Initiative. And Yetu means our own. It is a Swahili name, which means that we are working together for the local issues, looking for the resources locally, and therefore making the local organizations to prioritize their development issues, and without necessarily looking outside the county. So Yetu is just an initiative, it's not a program, and Yetu is funded both by USAID and Aga Khan Foundation. Yes.
Why come up with Yetu? What was the driving force behind the formation?
Okay, Yetu, as I've indicated, being an initiative, started way back in 2014. And it was mainly meant to build the capacities of the local organizations, specifically strengthening their systems, strengthening their resource base, but majorly focusing on the local resources from the community members. So through Yetu, we are working in 5 counties, and the counties that we are working, Nakuru is one of the counties, and we are pursuing to bring in these counties the local development organization, be they faith-based, be they community-based, private sector, religious organizations, and we are bringing them for them to prioritize on the development issues as I've indicated. And the reason as to why this is happening, it's because previously most of the organizations have had a transactional kind of engagement with the donors, where they are given money, and once they have been given money, they just go implement their projects within the time frames that they've agreed with the donor, then they leave. But the perspective that Yetu has taken with the support from USAID is that we need the local organization to look for the local resources to come up with local solutions to their problems, and it will be more engaging because there's so much of resources amongst the community members. So as I've indicated, Nakuru is the first county that we've started this the issue of bringing the local development organization together to create a platform where their voices can be better heard. And in this process, we are also in close consultation with the county government, because we know once the county government or the government at large understands that there is an organization that is owned by the community members, community-led and community-managed, they have a better voice as they continue engaging with them.
Oh.
Yes.
So which are some of these organizations that have come together to form the LDO?
Let me take you back a bit, Mr. Karanja, that this process started way back in 2019. There was a call under USAID called annual APS, the annual, and I remember annual program statement. And under the annual program statement, they called for local organizations to apply in a program they are calling Journey to Self-Reliance. Instead of the previous engagement they had with the organizations, where they would call for proposals, then they fund individual organizations, the approach is different because after the call, I think later they called these organizations. They went in the counties and Nakuru. They came, they gave the information and guided the organizations on the approaches, the approach that they are taking for that call. So later, people applied, and from Nakuru, there were 14 pre-selected organizations which were consortium, and this consortium represent 140 local organizations. They are faith-based, Christian-based, they are community-based, and all those organizations were brought. I think the process now took center stage starting February of this year. And the first activity that after the pre-selection of the 14 consortium members, there was a formal introduction of those organizations to the county government of Nakuru. It was a high delegation meeting. I think there were like more than 50 people where the government was present together with the officials from the county government, the officials from USAID, the officials from Aga Khan Foundation, and there were members who had been selected, the 4 pre-selected members of the Nakuru LDO. So after that meeting, it was formalizing the conversation of bringing all the organizations in Nakuru together to have a common vision for them to be prioritizing their needs as citizens of Nakuru. And I therefore think after that first meeting, we've held quite a number of other meetings. I think this should be almost the 16th week since that conversation started. But along the way, after that, the initial conversation between the county, the pre-selected organizations from Nakuru, the conversations between the Aga Khan Foundation, there were other meetings that followed for them to agree first. In fact, before they even agree on the vision, there was the formation of the interim committee comprised of 14 members of the pre-selected organization. And the interim committee basically was meant to steer the conversation of bringing the other organizations that were not pre-selected during the call by the USAID. And I think this interim committee is headed, is under the chairmanship of Dr. Isaac Malonza. And I think every other week we have a webinar every Tuesday so that we can have the conversation. So after the interim, then these groups are together to discuss and agree what they thought would be the vision of the LDO, the modalities of how it will be formed. They agree on the modalities of registration. They agree on the objectives, the strategies that they use to achieve the goal. And I think after they agreed on the vision, I think moving forward, we started. Now I'm taking you step by step on the things that have been done since the formation of the interim committee. We've had conversations and mainly planning on reaching out to more people over and above the 140 that were on board. And I think also to understand the climate of the operations in Nakuru, we conducted something we call the context and system analysis, where we just have a feel of the economics, socioeconomics of Nakuru, what are the major sectors in Nakuru, the livelihoods and so on and so forth. And mainly this was meant just to have a feel, in as much as we are engaging the Nakuru people, just also to understand where the pockets in terms of the economics and so on and so forth. So after the systems, we also had stakeholders mapping. And stakeholders mapping is just to get to know who are the stakeholders that we need to engage in Nakuru. And I think we have a database out of that conversation. And I think now, after that, that is when now the conversation started on the strategies that we need to use to go out and reach out to those people who might have applied and they never qualified, to those people who might not have applied but they are key in the LDO formation. LDO, for the purposes of those people who are listening this for the first time, is the local development organization.
And what does an LDO do?
An LDO, and I think this is the creation of, as we are having conversation with the USAID, it's bringing all the voices, bringing all the organizations within Nakuru County. In as much as you are in the sector of health, others are in the sector of education, others are in governance, others are in women issues, others are with all manner of organizations, just bringing them together to create a platform where their voices will be better heard as they prioritize on their needs, development needs. Yes.
And what are some of the, you've mentioned that there was an interim committee that was set up. What are some of the things that this committee has done since the setup to today?
Okay, I'll mention a few of them, as I've indicated to you. First, the conversations we are having, and it is important that I mention this from here, that we are in the process of forming the LDO. It has not been formed through a very collaborative process called co-creation. And this co-creation we are talking about, we've started with something we are calling social mobilization. And social mobilization is reaching out to other stakeholders, to other organizations that are not on board. And this we've done, I think, for the last, this should be the third week. And after the first phase of the social mobilization, we reached out to other organizations that were not on board, that were never included in the 140 organizations that I mentioned about. Then after that, we have, this week, we've been in Nakuru since Monday, and that is the second phase of the social mobilization, reaching out to more stakeholders whom during the social mobilization were identified and they were never in our database. So we have had something we are calling clustered meetings, and we've clustered the various sub-counties in Nakuru to just bring these people together, 5 from each ward, to have this conversation further, sharing with them the vision, the mission, then the structure of this LDO, and also getting to understand if there are still more stakeholders that have not been involved in the process. So on Tuesday, we met the first cluster, that is representation came from Joro and Rongai. We had around 55 representatives of different organizations. Then yesterday, we had a meeting for the Nakuru East, Nakuru West. We also had the representation of 55 members. We also had another meeting today. We had 2 meetings today. One was in Molo, where we were reaching out to the sub-counties of Molo, Kuresoi South and Kuresoi North, and we had around 65 members. We also had another one in Kabazi, and in Kabazi we were targeting representation from Subuki and Bahati, and we had around 50 participants for that clustered meeting. Then tomorrow we are having the final one, which will be Naivasha and Gilgil, and it has around 65 participants. We are anticipating we shall get that number. And one thing that I wish to mention here, that after these meetings, the members are sitting and identifying 10 members from every cluster. And the 10 members that have been identified will now move to something we are calling wider co-creation at the county level. And therefore, the 5 clusters that we've talked about shall comprise those members that were not represented in the 14 consortium group. So we shall have around 50 people for the wider co-creation, the county level meeting, together with the 14. We shall bring on board the county government officials, and we've had a very good support from the county government of Nakuru. And we keep on informing them every step we are taking, they understand the process, how the process is going. So I think the meetings were meant first to still reach out to more people, let people own this process, understand what the LDO entails and the benefits that they might reap once they get on board.
So you bring together 50 people?
Yes, 50.
Then out of this 50, you're supposed to choose 10?
No. Out of the 5 meetings that we had this week, every cluster, for example, the cluster for Bahati and Subukia, we had 50 people. Out of the 50, based on a criteria that was shared with these teams, they are nominating 10 people.
They themselves?
Yes.
They themselves?
They themselves are nominating 10 people who will represent them during the wider co-creation at the county level meeting, which should be happening, I think, in early August.
And now, which criteria are they using in choosing these people? Is it the popular ones?
No. The criteria that was shared with these people is, I think we need somebody who represents religion, somebody representing the CBOs, somebody representing the youth, somebody representing women organizations. We're also looking sector-wise, the sectors that we've considered so far, and I think this was informed by the context and system analysis that I mentioned about, is health, education, agriculture, and have I mentioned health? I think those are the key. Those are the key components or criteria that is guiding the teams when they are selecting the 10 members.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ndungu. It's another edition of Between the Lines, and today we are discussing the Yetu Initiative that is in the process of forming a local development organization. We will be right back. Welcome back. It's the show Between the Lines. I'm your host Karanja Jackson. We are discussing the Yetu Initiative. In studio today we have Mr. Bernard Ndungu, a coach and mentor at the Aga Khan Foundation. Thank you again. Now, you did mention that there were some organizations that had applied and were left out. What is the LDO doing in trying to bring these organizations back and feel included in the discussion?
Thank you, Karanja. And I'll respond to that question by taking you back to something that before the break, we had mentioned, is that after the pre-selection of the 14. After the pre-selection of the 14 organizations, or holding 140 organizations, there are those who are never selected. And during the process that I'm calling the social mobilization, we are reaching out to these individual organizations. And the reason as to why we are reaching out to them, to make this process all-inclusive, meaning that we wouldn't wish to have a local development organization that has selectively picked the individual organizations that are supposed to participate in the local development organization. And therefore, all the meetings that we had this week is reach out to those people who were never selected. All the meetings we held 2 weeks ago, it was also meant to reach out to those people, both who applied and they didn't get selected, to those who didn't apply, but we feel from the context analysis and the stakeholders mapping that we did, we are informed by those two documents to get to know that the other individuals who are out there and they are critical to legitimize this process. And I think the other critical question that we are still asking during these clustered sub-counties meetings is that who do you feel still needs to be part of this process? For example, during the meeting on Tuesday for the Rongai Njoro cluster, there's somebody who raised an issue to do with, he indicated that, as we all know, Nakuru has always been a hotbed of politics and sometimes conflict. And he indicated that there are two groups of people that are critical in the process that we are in. And he mentioned about the Peace and Security Committees and the Council of Elders, which I think they are critical because these are opinion shapers. And when you think of development, without peace, there is no a conversation that continue of development. And therefore, I think those are the reach outs that we have, including the meeting that we had today. We are continue encouraging the people who've been invited to continue giving more information on those other members of the community that have been left out, and they are critical in this process. Yeah.
Impressive. Now, this is the LDO has brought together different organizations which also have different magnitude in terms of their size and their shape. We do have big organizations and we do have small organizations. What are you planning to ensure that all these organizations do benefit at the same level?
I think we have a structure, and this structure will ensure that every member of this local development organization from the ward level is represented. It is a very complicated structure, organogram, which I might not be in a position to share now. However, during the wider cohesion meeting, all the members present will have an opportunity to be taken through, as we've been taking them through the entire of this week, that structure to make sure everybody is included. There are a number of things that the LDO will be doing, including grant making, capacity building to the member organizations, and it is through that process and the process of having a common vision that we own. In fact, we are saying it is a community-led, community-managed, and community-owned, meaning that every person will feel, irrespective of the kind of an organization you have, you are part and parcel of this process. And one thing that I also need to mention, Karanja, is that with a shared vision, we sit and agree that this is the road that we need to pass, me and you, irrespective of your position, irrespective of the baggages that you have. And then number two, we are even not telling these people to fold the individual organizations. You still have your identity as Karanja, the other one has an identity as Bernard. However, we will continue working together. The resources that come, because now these will be a legal entity, the LDO will have been registered. And I think I better mention now that during these conversations that we've had, the members have agreed that this LDO will be registered as a trust. And that is what will make these people own this process. And therefore, I'll be part of the LDO, not because I'm Karanja, but because I know the priorities, the development priorities of this county will be well addressed if you speak in one voice.
And why the decision to choose on to register it as a trust over maybe just an organization, like maybe a small micro organization?
Okay, this was a long conversation, and looking at the various kind of registration of organizations, they could have even registered as an NGO. However, after long consultations and conversation, they thought the structure of a trust is more inclusive, because they are the trustees. There are those people, we have the secretariat, and so on and so forth. So it is a conversation, and after a long conversation, and guided by the experts that were brought on board by Aga Khan Foundation through Yetu, they agreed that the best outfit that they feel will suffice for this process would be a trust. Yeah.
Now, speaking of inclusivity, it is common knowledge that there are some organizations, they are set up with the goal of ensuring that even the small mwananchi down there benefits. But this one never comes to happen. It's only several organizations that will benefit. You'll find maybe top ranking organization members, maybe with big cars, big offices, but this does not trickle down. What is this LDO planning to do to ensure that the vision, the mission, and the objective of Yetu Initiative is lived up to its entirety?
Thank you. And I will take you back to a statement that I made as we started. And the kind of a conversation that has been with most of the NGOs has been very transactional. I come with my money, as you indicate, with my big car, and you even get to understand there are those people who will use the fuel guzzlers just to go to a village to take 100,000. And when you look at the logistics of taking the food, the 100,000 worth food, it's more than the food. So it beats the logic why even they would have gone there. This journey is changing, and I indicated that we are now moving from that transaction kind of an engagement with our donors to a more inclusive process where, as I indicated, this local development organization, once complete, everybody will have a voice. It is not a few selected. For example, I would have an organization in Nairobi, and maybe one of the counties that I'm working in is Nakuru. And I might be having those activities just because the donor required that we need to have some activities in Nakuru County. So in as much as I'm coming to Nakuru, Karanja might also have the same money and still work in Nakuru. There is so much duplication and sometimes waste of resources. And once this group has been brought together, the support that they will get, because ultimately once we've registered, they will get some funding from local organizations, local private sector, and so on and so forth. So just to respond to your question, the inclusivity in the process of the formation of the LDO will ensure that everybody has a voice, everybody will be listened to, and moving forward, The resources are ours, and that's why we are using the word yetu. Yetu. It is not that I'm using the resources because they are donor money. I'm using this money because it is ours to do, to prioritize on our development concerns and so on and so forth. So I think by the fact that we are including and we are reaching out to everybody, it means that we are taking care of the concerns that people. And I also need to mention this, and it is a conversation that I've had as I've been walking around and interacting with the various groups. They are still fearful. We've seen organizations coming, and sometimes we are even asked for money, but they never go far. Even when they are praying their prayers, you can hear they are just giving you information in the prayer that, hey, dear Lord, we pray that this should not be like any other, and that is the assurance we keep on telling them, that this is your process. In as much as Bernard and the team are down here in Nakuru, we are not interfering with the processes. We only want to ensure that during this COVID period, the MOH guidelines are taken care of, and also to ensure, like you've indicated, inclusivity. We don't have a men's club only or women's club only. We want to have the people living in the disability, the youth, the minority groups, and therefore it is their process. Ultimately, they will stand up and say, this is ours. We've done it, we started, we have finalized, and here we are working on better services for the Nakuru people.
Thank you, Mr. Ndungu. Yetu Initiative, it is mine, it is yours. That is the end of the first part of this discussion. Thank you.
Bwana Waziri,
no.
We are here to establish how your ministry has spent money that was meant to fight COVID-19. And to get something clear.
Yes.
Going by your chart, I can see here you wrote 20 billion that went to buy biscuits. And for PPEs, I can see you spent 0.5 what?
Well, I think hapa kuna computer error. This is a computer error. The decimal place is not supposed to be there.
Hey, budget, haiko complete. Where did 5 billion go?
You know, these budgets are normally done by my juniors. Then they hand them over to me.
Bwana Waziri, where did the money go? 5 billion.
5 billion, 5 billion. Well, that went to curfew.
Curfew?
Yes.
What do you mean curfew?
You know, time is money. Sasa the more people stay indoors, the more the money reduces automatically.
Bwana Waziri, what about 5 million that you got from WHO and LACMA?
LACMA. I don't know about that. My juniors didn't tell me anything like that. Anyway, let me make a phone call. Halo? Ebu nikuulize. Kuna kitu yetu tulipata kutoka kwa jamaa anaitwa LACMA.
And by the way, Mr. Waziri, did you receive any money from Mr. Jack Bauer Foundation?
Jack who?
We wired the money sometimes last month. Jack Bauer Foundation.
Yes, I mean no. Sasa hii maneno imetokea wapi? Nani aliwaambia? Si nilifikiria ilikuwa
You reckon you can't remember?
No. Yes, hapana.
Welcome. It's another edition of Between the Lines. I am your host, Karanja Jackson. Today we are discussing Yetu Initiative, a program founded with the aim of helping the Mwananchi become a better person in this world. And we are glad to have Mr. Bernard Ndungu, who is a mentor and a coach at the Yetu Initiative. Now, Mr. Ndungu,
Yes.
please help us understand, where is Yetu Initiative getting its funding from?
Thank you, Karanja. And I mentioned as we started that Yetu is co-funded by Aga Khan Foundation and USAID. And we are hoping, as we continue in the engagement in the formation of the local development, the private sector will also be brought on board, and we are hoping through the process of the co-creation we shall get funding. But for now, the partners for Yetu are USAID and Aga Khan Foundation.
So should someone come up, or maybe an organization wish to join,
Yes.
are they able to join? And maybe I'm guessing anybody watching it is and maybe would be interested in joining. Are they allowed to come and join you in terms of funding?
For now, in terms of funding, no. And the reason being, LDO, we are still in the process of forming the LDO. So after the formation of the LDO, and it has been registered as a trust, that is when now they will start the serious business of resource mobilization. And through that process, then anybody interested in funding this LDO is welcome. So apart from USAID ultimately funding this LDO as the first step after the formalization of this process, anybody else, and it is open. Now it becomes a legal entity with a mandate to look for funds to make the activities and the strategies that they have proposed to come true.
While maybe when we get to that point where maybe other people will be coming in, there is always fear
Yes.
that should we bring in somebody else,
Yes.
or maybe another organization, they
Yes.
may bring in their own demands. And
Yeah.
this one normally comes in many places where someone will come and say, I'm giving you this, I want this.
Yes.
How will you, or will cross that bridge when it get there?
Yes, and as you rightly put it, there are fears. And we just hope we want to go that direction. And we're only hoping that the inclusivity of this process will even make anybody else who is interested in funding the organization to not come with demands, because this are all inclusive. And I wouldn't think, in as much as, for example, Nakuru County would need some funding from DFID, there are some demands they cannot just come if and when they are required to support. It is just a hope that the demands won't be there, and as we progress, we shall have a platform. This would be a platform where we are having conversations around making better, making Nakuru County a better place for everybody to live.
I'm trying to think about this, and I'm thinking just in lay terms. What is the fear of having an organization linking with maybe even a county government? Because county governments will always carry their own interests.
Yes.
The governor will always carry his or her own interest. How will you be able to navigate through this?
Thank you. And I will respond by just letting you know that the reason as to why we are involving the county government in understanding that there is a formation of the LDO, it's just because we wish that once this LDO has been formed, it is an entity that is recognized by the county government. We are not saying that the county government is part of the LDO, because the county government are on the supply side of services to the citizens. But the LDO is a representation of the citizens who are getting these services. Those are the people who are demanding for services from the county. And therefore it means that the conversation we are having with the county is to make sure during the planning stage of the county planning and budgeting for the county processes, this is a voice that will always be consulted, because they understand the process, they understand that we went out to gather information. But we also wish that during this social mobilization, the county governments are very critical, and especially using the structures, for example, the ward level members of the county, and therefore they are supporting us in making sure that the information we are giving the community members, the organizations, goes further than the ward level. And therefore this is an entity that is standing alone. It is not part of the county, but county is only coming on board to help in reaching out to more people to be part of the LDO.
As part of the LDO, and now in the social mobilization, if you will be kind enough to tell us, do you have elected leaders among you, like members, maybe like you've mentioned, members of county assembly that have bought into the idea of joining the LDO?
So far, and I think this is a conversation very interesting, because you have just mentioned something that was mentioned in one of the meetings. I think it was on Monday. The elected members are very critical and important. However, and as we are approaching the election year, yes, it will be a bit tricky, because somebody might run with the idea and think, now this is my platform, either to become the next governor of Nakuru. Therefore, we are still negotiating and deliberating at what point we would need to talk to them. I think we've reached out to the County Assembly of Nakuru just for the information and to make the processes, once these LDOs comes into place, to make the conversation between the LDO and the County Assembly, whom have their mandate oversight of what the county executive are doing, so that once these guys start their work, the LDO, it will be something that also the leadership and the members of the county assembly will say, yes, we understand this process was there. However, as I've indicated, we are still in that conversation to see when is the best time to involve these elected leaders.
Yeah, because it's very important.
Yes, I agree.
Especially when you're heading, when you're going to a place that this leader commands some support. He or she is better known in that area. Maybe it's a discussion.
It would need a lot of thinking, because we wouldn't want to have all this process getting. So it is still a card on the table. I'm not saying we are not involving them. It is a card on the table, but yes, to agree when we are supposed to bring them on board.
Speaking about the marginalized groups, we do have several groups in our societies that for years have been neglected. They've been forgotten, maybe because of discrimination. What is the LDO planning to do as regards to this?
Thank you. And I think one of the organizations, one of the 14 organizations, has the key population members. And I think in all the clustered meetings that we are holding, we are inviting them as people whom have for a long time been left out in most of these conversations. we're also reaching out. Why it's not for the COVID pandemic, the aged, the elderly, because now we cannot even invite them for these meetings because the MOH. I think there was a declaration anybody beyond 58 years should not be going to church. But I think the meetings we have is more or less the same. However, I think, as I said, we are still reaching out to more people, and we are still encouraging those who are coming on board. If you feel there's some people that have been left out, including the minority groups in Nakuru, to come out. And we had a very targeted reach out to communities in Kuresoi South. And I think that is the only very targeted kind of a social mobilization that we had, because we got information that most of the time they are left out in most of the conversations that are ongoing in the county. So we are still reaching out to them. We have some on board, and we'll continue, because as I said, social mobilization is a process. It's not a one-time event. We will continue even after the registration of the LDO. We'll still continue reaching out to more groups and having conversations for the groups that are not well represented. And if I give an example, when we are doing our social mobilization, I think we managed to reach out to around 981 organizations. However, from the analysis, we realized that religious organizations were not well represented. So one of the things that we are doing in the clustered meeting is to have a targeted mobilization of Christian or religious, or not just Christian, religious organizations. And a case at point, yesterday when we are negotiating on the nomination of the 10 individuals who are supposed now to join the wider co-creation, we found out that we had one representative a Christian and the other representative a Muslim. And since we only had 10 slots, we had to make a decision that we need to bring the two on board so that the Muslims will be represented as well as the Christians are represented. Yeah.
Maybe I'm just thinking about all these and the numbers and the people that are here. So what will be the checks and balances in the organization, like that will ensure that one, the people that you've chosen to work with are ensuring that everything is followed to the letter? Will you have a constitution, such things?
So that's why Bernard, being the coach and a mentor, is there. Because the moment this organization has been fully registered, it will have a secretariat. And we shall now start building this organization from scratch. We shall need a strategic plan that will guide the roadmap in terms of whatever they want to do. We shall have internal controls, procedures, policies that will guide them. And like any other entity, those are the structures that we shall be forming within the LDO to guide them and to make sure the fears that might come in terms of people bringing their own. It will be an operating organization, well organized, with clear guidance, and I think it is one of the criteria that USAID will look at before they fund them. Are they in a position to manage the resources that we shall give them? Do they have the capacity, to continue engaging with the county government, bringing citizens on board in the conversations around the development in the county, and so forth and so forth. So that will be taken care of.
Thank you, Mr. Ndungu. We are discussing the Yetu Initiative and the process of formation of the LDO that is meant to help the people of this republic. We'll take a small breather. We will be right back.
kuja hapa, umetoka wapi? Na unaenda wapi? Saini saa ngapi? Kwa nini na kivipi? Hebu eleza mara moja, kuja huyu mother, kuja hapa.
Officer, mimi ni mtu wa chemist, naenda nyumbani. Hata niko na barua ya essential services.
Ati chemist?
Si unajua serikali ilisema si tuko na ruhusa ya kuchelewa kidogo.
Ati serikali ilisema aje? Wewe unasemeanga serikali? Wewe ndio government spokesman. Makosa ya kwanza, impersonation of the government spokesman.
Officer, hata wewe unajua hii curfew imewekwa kupunguza maambukizi, si kudhulumu wananchi.
Imewekwa kudhulumu polisi, si ndio?
Hapana, polisi ndio wanaitumia vibaya.
Sasa unanisomea? Yaani umeacha kusemea serikali, sasa unasomea serikali. You are reading to the government. Hiyo ndio makosa ya ngapi?
Si hivyo officer. Alafu, kwanza wewe mbona hujavaa mask? Si unajua hata nyinyi maafisa wa polisi mnajiweka at risk ya kuambukizwa COVID, eh? Kwa nini humvai mask?
Sasa unauliza serikali maswali tena. You are interrogating the government. Makosa ya ngapi? 3. Tuache mambo mingi kijana. Kwanza nyinyi mmepewa pesa ya COVID allowance. Sisi hata hatujapewa, hata roadblock zilifunguliwa. Cheza kama wewe.
Ati nini?
Leta ile unaleta kijana na uende kule unaendanga.
Sina pesa officer.
Boss, unaongeza makosa chia ingine. Ujue sisi ni nani bana? I can take you to quarantine anytime bila makosa yote. I can take you anywhere I want. Saizi hakuna katiba, tumesuspend everything. Ujue sisi ni nani? We have powers. Sisi ndio Kenya police.
Unajua kutembea bila pesa ni murder case. Unataka kuwa serikali na njaa?
Hebu Thomas nikuone kinyangarika hii.
Utasema hiyo mambo yote mbele. Kuja haraka, tembea. Kanyaga kubwa twende.
Alafu ofisa unajua ufai kunikaribia hivi na hata una mask. Unajuaje kama niko na COVID?
Unaishiki witi kwa mimi, twende wewe.
Ai, kwani hii mtu yuko na corona? Unataka kuwa mimi na corona? Toka hapa shetani wewe, manslaughter wewe, attempted murder COVID-19.
Welcome back. The show is Between the Lines. I'm your host Karanja Jackson. In studio today we have Mr. Bernard Ndungu, a coach mentor at the Aga Khan Foundation of the Yetu Initiative. Now, Mr. Ndungu, COVID-19 came and it was an unprecedented time, and we are having a lot of things that are changing. We're calling it the new normal. Now, in your mobilization processes, how have you been able to do this and still maintain the guidelines provided by the Ministry of Health?
Thank you. First, let me say immediately after it was announced in Kenya, the activities that we are holding physically stopped, and we now started meeting through webinars. And I think this has been going on for a long time. I think, as I told you, this should be the 16th week since the webinar started. However, for the other social mobilization activities that we've had last week part 1 and also this week, we are making sure that we are getting a hall that will ensure social distancing. We are providing masks, sanitizers, and also checking on the temperatures. Every member who is coming for that meeting, that is how we are doing it. And we've successfully done it because, for example, here in Nakuru, we had the Kenya National Library Services, where we had a big hall, and we had 2 separate groups. One was 35, the other one was 25. And we are ensuring that these people have observed. We are not entrusting that once you come, you will come with your mask. We are providing these masks as they come. And we are looking at a situation where, in situations where we might not be in a position to bring these people together. For example, the one for the county wider co-creation, we shall have a webinar. The reason being, these are many people, and we might not want to risk bringing them together. So we are observing all the Ministry of Health guidelines and ensuring that they are followed. We are not taking more than 2 hours in all our meetings. We are ensuring that these people are seated and we share within the shortest time possible. Then we break the meetings. Yeah.
And now, for those who are watching us and may be interested in joining the LDO, what do you want to tell them? Are the doors closed? Are they still open?
No, as I indicated, we are still in the process of reaching out to them. And we are sure that as we continue, and as I've indicated previously, social mobilization is not a one-time thing. It is a continuous process. So in as much as we might take some more steps in the co-creation process of the LDO, we'll still reach out to those people who might have been left out. So we are interested, not individual. Karanja come telling Bernard, Bernard, I'm here, I need to join the process. We are looking at organization groups that have been registered, and groups that have been registered are the ones that we are interested in. And I'm sure as we go to the end of this program, we shall share with them the link where they can get more information on how to join, and also share with us the information that they have.
So if I came to you today and I said, I have a vision, I feel in me as Karanja, I feel I have the passion to work, but I don't have an organization, you will send me away?
It's advising you to just go, because there are many organizations, Karanja. There are many organizations. We just send you to a group that you can identify with, then come back, then you join the process. Yeah.
So after the mobilization, assuming now we are done with mobilization, we already have the numbers that we want, what next?
As I've told you, during the county level co-creation webinar, we shall be validating the vision, the mission, the structure. And after that conversation, once we agree, and at that level, the process of now drafting the paperwork for registration will start. Because I think even the expert who will be supporting these people to register the LDO will also be part of the wider co-creation. And with that, now the conversation will move now from co-creation to registering, and also now thinking around the development of the strategic plan for the group, establishment of the secretariat, now that we are headed in the formalization of this LDO. So those are the next steps, and as I told you, there will be so much capacity building, just guiding these people on what they are supposed to do, looking at the structures, looking at the capacity gaps, and addressing them as we move. Yeah. And
now Nakuru being the premier county where we are having this local development organization, will you move to other counties?
Yes. Yetu is working in 5 counties, as I mentioned. One is Mombasa, the other one Makueni, the other one is Isiolo, and the other one is Kisii and Nakuru. There's so much learning in Nakuru because nobody else has ever done the formation of the LDO. So Nakuru has given us an opportunity to test, verify, and be sure. So I know maybe in the very near future we'll be starting the conversation in Kisii, and I also know we are doing something for Mombasa. For Makueni, it is also a conversation that is ongoing, but mostly, and we are happy with the progress that we are making in Nakuru, because after the learning, some false steps, then you get to understand where you need to hold yourself before you fall. I think we are doing well, and we are happy with the Nakuru team that we are working with, and especially the interim committee. They've been very instrumental, and they've been very supportive in this work. And with the leadership of Dr. Malonza, I think we are doing a good job. Yeah.
And kudos to you, because this is a new phenomena. We've never heard of this, where different organizations are brought together, sharing one same goal, sharing different goals as individual organizations, but now coming together with one sole goal of helping the local Mwananchi.
We hope the fears that we had mentioned about to never be a hindrance in us achieving the goal that is intended for the local development organization. Yeah.
Impressive. So for more information, for those who are watching, if you want to understand the entire discussion that we've been having here, and to gain more information about the local development organization under the Yetu Initiative, you can go to the website, that is yetu.org/Nakuru -LDO/, that is yetu.org/Nakuru -LDO/. There you'll find more information about the local development organization and the Yetu Initiative. So, part in short, what do you want to tell our viewers out there, and anything about the LDO?
I would wish to let our listeners and our viewers understand that the LDO we are talking about is community-led, community-owned, and community managed, and with that they will be assured all the planning and budgeting processes and the conversations around the resources in Nakuru are well utilized, because their voices will be heard. Yeah,
their voices will be heard, and it's not only them that will be hearing who was on the table. Their voices will be on that table and will be heard. We wish you the very best. We believe that transparency and integrity will be the values that define the LDO. Thank you very much
for giving this opportunity just to have this conversation. Thank you.
It's been another edition of Between the Lines. I've been your host, Karanja Jackson. For more information about the Yetu Initiative, the local development organization, again, the website is yetu.org/Nakuru -LDO/. It will be tagged on our timeline, and you can go to the website and find more about this. Follow us on our different platforms at Nakuru TV on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Until next time, stay safe.